Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. And since my show this morning, my phone has been going crazy. Um, uh, Message after message after message. I mean, my phone is full of the sirens going off in Israel. Over 100 rockets were sent from Israel to Gaza. Now I do have a map. Let's see if you guys can see it. There's Gaza, and it seems like what Israel's going after is Kfar Aza, that, and also Suradot. A lot of them have been going there. Nahal, Oz, Siad, um, and so you can see where Gaza's at, and a lot of them are heading towards. Let's see. There's Gaza over here, and here's a Sirarot, and then here's Kafar. Now I'm not sure what's in these areas. I've been watching the live stream on this, and well, I'll give you an idea. Just probably oh goodness, not too long ago because my phone would had the sirens. Uh, Siradot, Nuram, then one at Kafar, Natural Oz, um, Nitzium, Kerem Shalom. And I know Israel people are probably laughing at me pronouncing this stuff. Ashkelon Southern Industrial Zone, Erez, Serdot again, Nuram again, uh, O Hanir, O Ahir, Gavin, Sapir College, Siradot. So you can get an idea. And that's just part of um, what I've been getting today. Mary called me and she said it, and then my phone started going off. And so it's pretty serious over there with about 100 rockets that have been going off. Um, so, well, we begin with this breaking news out of Gaza where Israel military has launched strikes against several targets. And the operation follows days of tensions after the arrest of senior Palestinian leader of the group, uh, 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 with the Islamic Jihad. Um, so, what I've been able to find out from my reporter in Israel is it just started suddenly. They said they didn't know what they were in the middle of. They didn't know if it was Hamas and Hezbollah shooting from Palestinian or Palestine, and or they didn't know if it was Iran. But the tensions and the threats and the warning messages between Palestinian side and Israel side, we know there are strong Israel strikes taking place. They have been this afternoon. It was about 2 o'clock my time, 3 on the East Coast. They were shooting sets of 4 to 6 rockets at a time every 20 minutes until right about 4 o'clock. And then it started kind of tapering off. They say there's about 12 people. I'll wait till I get to so I know actual numbers. So they're targeting the Palestine Tower, one of the residentials. It's a residential apartments where they thought for sure that um, eh, these terrorist leaders were at. Um, and until now, we know that 2 people died, and the numbers have been of injured. They have been arriving to Shifa brigades, they say, in the northern commander part. Um, they mentioned this comes after the arrest of the senior Palestinian. So it gives us kind of what led up to this attack. Last week, um, the society, who also a leader of the Islamic Jihad, arrested in John after Israel forces invaded the junior refugee camp and arrested Basham Asadi. He was injured, and they said that pictures of him, um, they seen pictures of him, so they knew that that's who he was. But there was no response from anything going on in Israel, Israel stayed very quiet on this. And so it extended the detention for another 8 days to complete his interrogation. So the Islamics had two conditions for threats and warnings, and they were already on high alert of what was going on. So it's been escalating all week long. So the other one that's basically creating a lot of friction is another Islamic Jihad prisoner who is detained under administration. He has been on a hunger strike for 146 days. They say his condition is dangerous. The Islamic Jihad has put these two conditions. And they said between Gaza fighting groups and Israel, they said they've seen two things develop very quickly in Israel. When they got the warnings, and it's not really putting out what the warnings were, it was basically what I read in a Twitter feed was they were going to annihilate them. And this was coming from not only the Palestinians, Hamas, these Islamic extremists, and Hezbollah, but also the threats were coming from Iran. So basically, they started seeing that things were developing and they were getting more warnings, more threats. So they were forced to close Israel cities in the southern part adjacent to the Gaza Strip. And then they, of course, put the curfew in order. And at the on the strip of Karum Abu Salam, checkpoints have been completely closed for 4 days in a row, not allowing anybody, goods or materials, enter the Golden Strip. So this really sparked up even more hostility from the Islamic extremists, and this was taking place for quite a few days. And it wasn't to escalate the conditions. They said it was just protecting themselves. And so they found that this was another escalation between Israeli forces and Palestinian fighting group until these strikes that have suddenly erupted. And then we've been looking at some pictures today, and you can tell that the mood there is everybody's angry. Both sides are angry, but you can imagine the people of seeing missiles being shot, fired, and landing. In the past couple days, they've been witnessing closures of crossings also. Not only that, but the Seoul power plant in Gaza might actually have been shut down. If fuel is not entering and coming in the hours or days to come, they said they'll be very surprised. And they allowed a truck fuel, about 4 tracks of fuel to enter through the crossings for the power plant to be able to stay running. So Israel has lended a hand out to make sure that everything's going to stay running, and they want everybody to stay calm. They said the people in Gaza know that the beginning of such a escalation, what this could possibly lead to. And as we have seen this before with the missiles going back and forth. And they say it's very dangerous. And because of actions from both sides, strategy might actually cause a wider complicated escalation. There was a 15 killed in Gaza. Palestine said at least 15 people were killed in these airstrikes on the Gaza strips, including a Palestinian Islamic Jihad commander and a child, and at least 55 other people have been wounded in the strikes. And this is Gaza-based Islamic Jihad group, and is vowed to hit back by bombing central Israel. And the Palestinian Islamic Jihad is blacklisted, and it is listed as a terrorist organization by both the European Union and the United States and Israel. And Israel says it was striking sites linked to Islamic Jihad. This includes the high-rise Palestinian Tower. And this is in Gaza City, where the commander lived. And and terrorists were being um, um, uh, being held up. But I think how it means is they were staying there and they were holding up inside this building. Um, so the strike comes days after tensions between Israel and Gaza-based group arrested two senior jihad members. So you got to kind of look, folks, at what we've seen this week. We hit the main Muslim terrorist leader over in Afghanistan. Well, the same week that we had done this, Israel was springing into action. And what they did is they went after these guys because they knew this group was going to retaliate against what the United States had done to this terrorist. So, and not only that, but the guy that's in prison that's starving is on a starvation. So they want him released, and they also want to, of course, always get even with Israel. And so these strikes are basically, like I said, close the borders up. Um, they said the shelters are open. They're handing out the masks. Um, they have bomb shelter, and residents are flocking to them, but mainly around Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and the Shiva areas around these southern areas bordering Gaza have been told to prepare in their bomb shelters, not to gather in large groups outside or not to gather on rooftops. They said that makes you a target. They said this is going to last probably throughout the weekend. And as soon as the bomb shelters are full, they will close and direct their people to the following shelters. Um, they said that the Palestinian Islamic Jihad is vowed revenge. They vowed to strike, igniting yet another war in the territory of Gaza Strips. This is ruled by Hamas. It is the home to about 2 million Palestinian Hamas. Now, if you don't know who Hamas is a terrorist group, and they're really close with Hezbollah. And usually they're north of Gaza. They go all the way up to Damascus. So in between Gaza and all the way up is basically controlled by these jihad terrorists. And I've been watching them for a while because I followed ISIS and the Islamics up through um, um, Iraq into Syria. And then once they got into Syria, then they all kind of flocked over to um, Damascus and over around northwest Syria and then Palestine. Um, and that's basically where they've been staying and north of Gaza. But it seems that Kfar Aza, that is south of Surat, and it's east of Gaza. Um, that seems to be where a lot of the concentration of the missiles were going. So they said that Israel says they received intelligence of attack by Palestinians before the arrest of Bassem Masadi, the Islamic Jihad's West Bank leader, and intelligence of imminent attacks that were fixing to happen. And they were taught that there is rumors from my reporter that if Hamas and Hezbollah and the Jihad, Islamic extremists, terrorists, didn't attack, Iran would. Now, Iran is vowed to get even, definitely get even. And they said they're doing the same thing. They said they're going to annihilate Israel. So villages in town near Gaza border this week, they've been have been taking place involving um, um, quite a few of the prime ministers, um, and all of them getting together. And I could probably do this just by memory. They got together this week and quite a few times trying to de-escalate what was going on, and they could not do it. They could not come to an agreement, and at some points it got very heated. And so Israel knew that something was going to happen, and then the threats and the warnings started. And then today, Israel claims that this was through Israeli News 7, and they basically said on their report tonight that Israel felt if they didn't jump and strike first, that more than likely it would have involved Iran, and they would rather have this between them and Hamas and Hezbollah, because that's where the issue's at. Um, this is, I think, going to go on for a while. And if my phone goes off, you'll definitely hear the sirens. So North Korea, things all over the world today. Uh, when Mary called me, she said, I think everything's just falling apart today. It's all happening. Um, thank you very much. Before I get on to the North Korea, and welcome Charles Davis to the show. And this is what he says. This is his comment. We are now living in the last day. It is very scary. War in diverse places. And these are diverse places for sure. We got China and India going. We got China and going basically towards Taiwan. We have got Ukraine and Russia. Then I think Serbia and Azerbaijan, something real like that. They're even going at it today. I looked at it and I said, what is it about 8-5? You know, what is it about today that everybody decided they were all going to act up? And then get this. I might even do this story next. London, they were Azerbaijan. That's what it is. They decided, and these are Islamic extremists, they decided to storm the London embassy and take it over and then protest. Kind of like what we've seen at the Capitol, but a little bit more vicious. This would definitely be Nancy Pelosi would definitely like these guys and get them. They were all in black. They had green scarves on. So this happened today too. So we had London, the intruder storm, the balcony of Azerbaijan embassy in London to take down. They took down the flag and said it was theirs now. It's unclear basically what sparked the protest. It was led by a group called Mahdi Servants Union. It's a Shiite Muslim organization based in London, which says it wants to establish civilizational dominance in London. They had the Muslim extremists a while back that were doing the no-go zones over there. And I believe this is part of these guys. So this happened. So then, oh boy, I tell you what, this is just, it goes on. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. It had a deadly attack today. That nuclear plant that we all been talking about, well, it was attacked today. Well, and of course, Russia's accusing Ukraine. Ukraine's accusing Russia. But Russia had already went and said that they were going to do this, or Ukraine was. So they're taking it as an act of terror. And Ukraine's state-one operator, the country's nuclear power plant, said 3 strikes were recorded in the site of the plant near one of the power blocks where nuclear reactor is located. There are risks of hydrogen leak and radioactive spraying, and the fire danger is very high. So Ukrainian armed units carried out 3 artillery strikes on the power plant, or this is what we are urging international organizations to condemn the criminal actions of the Zelensky regime, is what's being said over there in Moscow. And at the same time, then we got the Ukrainians looking at Russia saying they did it. So we probably won't know for a few days. But see, that happened today. The embassy in London got stormed today. We've got Israel and um, Hamas and Hezbollah with over 100 missiles today. Um, so, um, so they did. Back over to what's going on in Israel. Well, no, I'm going to go on to North Korea. I'm sorry. Um, so in jumps Kim Jong Un, folks, and he decided he would like to play a game, provoke. Um, let's provoke everybody around me. And now, like we don't have enough wars or enough going on today, the United States is involved in like 10 at the moment. And so North Korea basically said, well, we can always start a new one, right? And so the United States is now launching more simulations and more practice games. Now, who is the target? Basically, um, and the exercises are pretending it's North Korea. Well, Kim Jong Un found out about this, and he says, "Okay, I'm ready to use nuclear weapons." Um, uh, and so my first thing was, how the heck did he find out what we were doing? Um, and I really believe that it was a leak. So now it says that he's demonizing the United States to justify the hostility. He also called out the South Korea government for for confrontation, and he called them maniacs. So, military joint exercises that we have done with South Korea has really ruffled the feathers of Kim Jong Un. So, the world leader is in an assassination attempt now, they say. He wants to infer a type of decapitation, he says. Um, so basically, the United States and South Korea, they're planning to do continue to do exercises. And now Kim Jong Un says, "Well, when you do this, we know what the drills are all about, and now we're going to take to offense, and we're talking a nuclear proliferation." They said that they have been getting ready since 2017. So we are doing. So we're doing drills getting ready for Taiwan, and Kim Jong Un decides to take this personally. So, um, oh boy. So now we ruffled the feathers of Kim Jong Un. So there's a good possibility. He said within the next few days he's going to start firing missiles. So over there, not only are we going to have China doing missiles at Taiwan, but now Kim Jong Un wants to fire some to get ready for a nuclear strike because the United States ruffled his feathers. Oh boy. And we do dry runs like this all the time. I don't know how many times on a military Wednesday night that we've mentioned these drills happen. The Air Force does it and the Army does it. It goes land, sea, air, and they're all just practicing. So so our men know what to expect. Men and women, I'm sorry. I'm going to get an Army girl that's going to get mad at me. So now, not only that, but while um, we're looking at Russia and Syria. Boy, this just goes on and on and on. And so Russia and Syria with basically Iran and and Hezbollah and Hamas, they're basically combined together. Well, Israel has vowed to hit um, strategic Iranian targets throughout Syria and over into this area that we see near Gaza. Well, what had happened is now it struck some of the Islamic extremists in Somalia to start shooting and saying they're going to start launching some drone strikes um, against those that are over in those from the United States. And so, folks, this only gets more. What do you think, Susan? And Linda, even Charles? Um, you can see it's like one country after another is now getting worked up, and that's not even looking at Afghanistan. We have, get this, jihad extremists that are going after the Taliban for what has happened. So now we have ISIS over there starting problems in Afghanistan with the Taliban and Al Qaeda. So they said there might be a war of the terrorists in Afghanistan. But not only that, now we got Somalia, because remember, um, we sent, I think, 1,200 troops about 2 months ago over to Somalia. Well, now they're all upset. So if you guys feel like, it's war after war after war, from Asia over to the Middle East, this is what it's starting to look like. And it's so odd that everybody decided today that they were going to um, all act up at once. Um, so Taiwan and China's responses to everything going on, I wanted to make sure I got this out. Um, Beijing retaliated against United States, cutting off dialogue and multiple topics. Taiwan most senior official in the U.S. Is foreseeing Taiwan to pay the heaviest cost for the Pelosi visit, but they claim it's much more than that. Um, but today, China targeted Washington and announced it would suspend dialogue on climate change, and they were done with climate change. And is punishing, they say the U.S. Is basically punishing the whole world militarily for a climate change that of no proof or scientific data on. Now, look who's calling who out on this. Look at the pandemic we just went through, and they wouldn't even claim responsibility for this. And when we wanted the data and the scientific stuff from them, they wouldn't give it to us. So China is now canceling talks between regional commanders and defense policy officials, as well as to discuss operations with the U.S. Biden did have a meeting with Jinping, and Jinping says it's been canceled at this point. All of this has really led to misperceptions, miscalculations, and Beijing basically sanctioned Pelosi and her family. Now, what I went and looked a little bit further, my question was, um, um, why Nancy Pelosi and all of her family? They are heavily invested in China, and quite a few banks, places that do loans, um, some of the semiconductors, the microchips, a lot that they have bought into, Visa. Um, and I bet he's going to cut the family off from their businesses over there. Uh, does Nancy Pelosi deserve this, or you know? So, as for Taiwan, China has launched the largest military exercises in 25 years. The Chinese are firing missiles, um, and now they have the strait blocked, like I was telling you yesterday, and nothing's changed, and they're just inching closer. And they've seen Chinese missiles flying over Taipei. Not only that, they have now started doing missile firing towards Japan's economic zone. and they said this is against um, foreign policies and international laws. Um, so, oh boy, it's like I was talking this morning with the international laws with those mines that they found. Now they've seen missiles flying over Taipei and landing inside Taiwanese territory waters. And now to, um, uh, you know, this Taiwan, they said, has bullied and marginalized um, the world against China. Now, I don't really think that's the case. I think, uh, and Jinping isn't one to point fingers and blame people. I think what it is the way it was translated out. Because I had to go back, I had to listen to the original statement, and what it is they feel that Taiwan is theirs and that the rest of the world is interfering with what should happen naturally. So, um, uh, we think it's, we think it's really important that um, um, we don't think everything's going to go to war. Now, I think if Jinping was going to go in and he was going to go to war with Taiwan, and he would do a warning like that. He put, we're going to do an exercise till the 8th. To me, that sounds like they're going to do the exercise till the 8th, and then what? Then what? Are they going to strike, or are they going to go home? And if they go home, so what was the purpose of it? So are we worried and concerned, folks? Put it in the comments. Are you worried and concerned that a war could start? Because Jinping don't want the war. We don't want the war. Israel don't want to do what it's doing today. And thank goodness my phone, it hasn't gone off for about an hour now. So maybe it's calmed down in Israel. Uh, but none of these superpower or presidents, leaders, nobody wants to destroy the world. Nobody really wants to go to war. I think this is a lot of politicians that are just growling at one another. So I wouldn't worry yet. Um, and so if we, with the blockade, and if Beijing does what it's warned that it would do, the CCP, then on the 8th, everything will be done. But it doesn't sound, they set exercises, and Jinping usually is good for his word. If he says, I'm going to do this for X amount of days, he does it. So what I want to relate to you guys tonight is if he says exercises till the 8th, then we're going to only have exercises till the 8th, unless someone makes a mistake. That's I've said that for months with you guys, and I'm being very honest with you. Um, August 21st, China will attack. Why do you think that, Charles? Hey, Sherry, what do you think? What do you think of all this going on with? You're usually pretty good. You go and you YouTube hop, so you hear it all. Sherry, I sure hope you tell these other places about me. Sherry's like, no, I'm teasing. Um, let's remember whose finger's on the button. Oh, um, you got an email that a while back, and it was quite disturbing. Well, if you want me to see it, email it to me. Investigator News um, at Yahoo. Um, you're on Facebook, so you could even send it to me in a message if you want. Um, and I'll definitely give you credit for it. So we're really looking at all of it. I mean, just what I went over tonight that's happened today. You would think this is World War III. I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom all over the place. And then you know what? Out of the blue, today. Um, let's see, where did this happen? Nebraska. They had huge. mysterious explosions that rocked Laurel, Nebraska this morning, and it caused multiple deaths and spawning an active investigation. Multiple businesses and other buildings were locked down after the blast, in which 4 people had been found dead in 2 separate properties. Witnesses reported that gunshots were heard ringing out prior to the explosions. Um, so even Nebraska had some weird explosions happening. Not only that, then we have a sinkhole in Peru or Chile. And, a lot of stuff's going on right now. Um, but, even in the Bible, folks, uh, when Christ was talking and he said, there's going to be earthquakes and famine and wars, but I won't come yet. So don't get all excited just yet because, that's what he said. We're going to hear about it and it's not that time yet. Um, so, we have to stay strong. And, I once heard from a very smart man up in Gravette, Arkansas, that said, we are the lucky ones. We are the ones that's going to be the ones of the last days, and that we are going to be the strong ones. So, and I don't want to get too much. Um, um, it was an investing video. Oh, okay. Um, so, I'm going to move on with this stuff because I got quite a bit here, and I want to be able to get it all to you guys. So, um, I want to make sure I didn't pass nothing up here. Um, So China is basically going to cut off the Pelosi. They're going to do a lot of sanctions, and I wouldn't be surprised if they send any Americans out of China or out of Beijing. I think that's what's really going to happen. And so, and I want to move on to some of this other stuff. The IDF fighter jets um, targeted Taysir Jabiri, a senior Palestinian Islamic Jihad officer. And according to what happened, the IDF fighter jets targeted him in the group's northern Gaza division. And this is who they were after today in that building I was telling you about. In addition, approximately 10 terrorists were targeted, including a terrorist squad on their way to carry out an anti-tank missile and sniper attack. And the military bases and buildings used uh, by the terrorists were also targeted. This is what the IDF said. Jabari is a senior commander of the PIJ, and it's held a number of positions in the territorial air organizations, including head of operations. And he was entrusted in many decisions inside Palestinian Islamic Jihad's terrorist organization. Well, that's a mouthful. And it was responsible for multiple attempted terror attacks against Israel's civilians, according to the IDF. Now, if you don't know what the IDF is, um, it is Israel Defense Forces. So that is the ones that was firing a lot of the missiles today, because Mary asked me on that. And it was the IDF. And so the Israel Air Defense System, they were intercepting rockets that were being fired from Gaza. Now, I noticed they were going out because you can watch what's going on Israel Live. Just put Israel or Gaza Live, and you can watch the missiles as they go off. Um, but the Israel Air Defense, um, they intercepted rockets that were fired from Gaza. And you can see when the Iron Dome gets them, because it almost looks like fireworks in the sky. And so they have been able to hold them off. And it's basically triggered the warnings and the warning sirens. And the Israel Air Defense System intercepted rockets fired from Gaza, following the country's raid that targeted immediate threat. So they did kill Taser al-Jabari, um, is what they did. So now we've got another leader. That's two in 1 week. So you can imagine that this Islamic um, jihad, not only that's in the Middle East, in Iraq and Syria, Gaza, all the way to Iran, Afghanistan. You can imagine they're very mad. And Israel forces bombed targets they said were linked to the group. And I think that's why, and I showed the map earlier, and I'll show it to you again. There's Gaza, and here's Gaza. Well, there's Gaza right up there, and Kafar Azaz, Azaze, Azae, I believe is how it's pronounced. This is what they were targeting big time today. Also, Sayad, Nahal's Oz, and Sir Sidarat. It was also another target. And so I think this is where these terrorists are held up. I have not seen them hit Gaza itself, the city of Gaza, and that is over here. So everything is right around this area right here. Now, let's see if I can blow this back out so you guys can see. See, there's Israel, there's Gaza. And so it's right around this area right here that they are going after. So it's not like the whole state of Israel is being bombed. No, no, don't think about that. But now think of uh, over 100 rockets, 100 missiles that has hit these same 4 or 5 cities over and over and over again, and then those being shot back. Um, so it's going to be a very rocky for uh, Sederot, and I think even over closer to Gaza. Now, when you watch the live view, it's from Gaza, and you could see these rockets going up. And they were all on their rooftops. Now, isn't that what Israel said? Don't do. Don't get on your rooftops. But everybody was jumping on their rooftops to watch they said the show. Um, something I'll have to look into, Charles. Um, I'm going to move along. There's still more. Um, um, there was something that, boy, this is, I guess, the odd week, and this happened yesterday. U.S. seeks to seize mysterious plane grounded in Argentina linked to Iran. I got this um, from one of my friends that lives down there, or her mom lives down there. And what she has said is there was a mysterious Venezuelan flag cargo plane that has been grounded, and they're arguing that the plane was previously linked to Iran, and ties to the terrorist organization. So they have grounded it, and now the United States wants to find out what it is. And they say that it's unlawful to transfer of Iranian cargo to Venezuela airline. But the airlines basically said that the violation of the rules, um, that they will continue to take a significant direct enforcement action against the foreign airlines for operating aircraft in violation of U.S. export control, but also violating airspace international laws. So it sounds like what basically they have said is they think it wasn't going to be a regular flight, that this was something that they were trying to land in for Iran in Argentina, and a type of terrorist. It could have been a terrorist attack. So now We want the State Department and also the Department of Defense to go over and take a look at this plane. They said the track was rumored to be in Argentina and then was supposed to come into the United States. And this was a plane that Iran had, their military had. And it looks to me like it's a commercial flight, or commercial looking plane, but they had military stuff in it. So in between Argentina and the United States feels they have the right to see what this plane is and what it's all about. I agree with the United States on that. And normally I don't agree with the Biden administration. Um, um, let's see. Um, okay, so um, to kind of give you what was going on in like events today. Um, they said that they were getting warnings from Gaza to Israeli and the IDF real early this morning. And then the IDF generals and Ghazians, the responsibility lies in the hands of Hamas, is what they were saying. Then Iran blasts Israel that says Zionist attacks are on Gaza is a crime. And this is when Iran had left the message that, let's see if I can Iran warns it will bear the responsibility after it launches counterterrorism operation Breaking Dawn and on the Gaza Strip. So now we had um, even Iran stepping in and making some threats. The IDF attacked more Islamic Jihad terrorist targets in the spot that they were where they were supposed to be. They say in Gaza, but I showed you the map to where you know that it's Gaza is over here, and then where they're firing is over in the middle. And I read you all the strikes, so you know it's not in Gaza. So don't let AOC and T-Lob and IMOM or whatever her name is, IMAN, or don't let them try to convince you that they were hitting civilian and residential areas in Gaza. I've showed you the map. So a Homefront Command website crashed in the Gaza operation. And they said not only that, but it seemed like someone was taking control of their power and their water and their internets feeds. Now, Erdogan has stopped comparing between law-abiding democracy and radical terrorist. And what had it happened was there are people that are over around Gaza that are very upset. They're not the terrorists; they're just pissed off people, and they are being confused with being part of Hamas or Hezbollah, and so they basically want them to stop doing that. And then by this morning, sirens in Sderot, Sderot, and Gaza enveloped into the communities. And I believe that's when they went after that big tall building. It was a report that Egypt made an attempt to mediate a ceasefire. They had called top Israel people at the embassy, and also trying to get a hold of those in Palestine and an attempt to mediate the ceasefire. Now, so when right about two hours later, they had more sirens and more missiles hit Sderot area, and then they said that IDF attacks, uh, Islam attack rocket launchers. They found out where these rocket launcher sites were, and that's what they started blowing up. And of course, then they said there was sirens sounded in Ashkelon. And what they found out there was the same thing. They found it was either weapons, or it was a part of the military, or it was these launchers. Now, the IDF attacking Islamic Jihad targets in Gaza Strip. The IDF has jihad targets on the Gaza Strip, but at this point they have not targeted them. And they said more details will come out as they see the response from Hamas and Hezbollah. Um, so the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, he spoke with the defense about him and about this operation, and that was early this morning when it first started going. And they basically informed him that this operation and this negotiation, not only with Israel and the terrorists, but Israel and Iran, that all the deals that they have been trying to put together is now fell apart. And so they informed Secretary Lloyd Austin and also Defense Minister Benny Gantz of this. I tell you what, this is there's a lot to this. All right, so following a rocket brigade, the IDF attacks Islamic targets. And so that's when they hit, they say, this one leader, I believe he was in Sederot, I'm sorry. And then those other terrorists that were being, they said, held up. They were holding up in a certain area, and it sounds like they got them too. Now, so following the rocket barrage, Islamic Jihad decided they were going to basically get all their strength and might and go back at Israel. The Middle East policy basically, when they were trying to get a hold of Biden on this to find out the support system, he has not got back to him. So we don't even know what the United States' stance is on this. Like I said, there was more than 100 rockets that's been fired at Israel today. Now, when they hit Ashkelon and Gaza, they said, according to what was coming out, is these were communities that was hit. So they said they do have people that have been hurt in these communities. And right now, responsibility isn't going to come out and the responsibility isn't going to come out and start pointing fingers at each other just yet. Not like they do over in Russia and Ukraine. Anything, with that nuclear plant that got blown up. Wow. Boy, today is crazy. I bet you guys didn't expect this. All right. So Tel Aviv, they opened public shelters and instructions of home front command. And they also give out masks. And they didn't do that till after the rockets started. The rocket barrage started. 46 rockets were fired toward Israel. 33 of them were intercepted. So the Iron Dome's kind of working there. The sirens in Shephelah region, and then the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Israel has a right to protect itself, of course. Now, right now, I believe it's going to be, I think it's the middle of the night over there. I believe they're about 6-8 hours ahead of us. Now, so they're going through the nighttime hours, but they said Operation Breaking Dawn. They said there is more than likely going to be a lot of targets and missiles hitting both sides, Gaza and Israel, in the morning. There, Israel is also, out of the blue, they said, issuing those emergency call up of all dog handlers. They said that the dogs are going to be needed not only to be there for protection, but also to help people that are needing um, needing someone or needing a companion. But not only that, but the dogs are ones that sometimes they send in with um, uh, first first aid. Now, I'm surprised they're not using the robot dogs. You guys heard about me and these robot dogs, and what they do is they pull sleds. So I'm not sure. They might be using these dogs to go in and pick up the wounded. Um, Boy, this just keeps going. Um, I believe that is pretty much it, folks. Now, let's see what. So, oh yeah, I could believe that. You know, Charles, some of the stuff, the new equipment that's out, they got like a baby SR-30, SR-71, and it's. I tell you what, tough little plane. They got one that looks like it, and then they got a mini one. Not only that, it's 5 a.m. there now. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, my phone. I was kind of hoping it would kind of go off so you guys can hear what I'm talking about with the sirens. I do get a lot of sirens today, and you know, if I'm out and about and they start firing missiles, I tell you what, people look at me really strange because it warns me is with like air raid sirens. And I was sitting in the doctor's office, and this lady said, "What kind of sirens are those? Is that for us in the United States?" I said, "No, it's Israel." And you can get programs for it, and it'll tell you when they're firing. And usually I watch the live stream. So when my sirens go off, it's not even like a second later, and I'm watching a rocket go up in the sky on the live feeds. Um, and that way I can, I can keep an eye on what's going on. And I did keep in touch. I don't know if Mary's in here tonight, but I kept in touch with Mary today, and she said, "Well, how bad is it?" And I said, let me look. And I mean, just within 30 minutes after she called and told me it was happening, um, I counted 22 missiles that came over my phone. And I was just like, oh boy, here we go, here we go. So we're kind of waiting for a response from Iran. Um, so, but I think that's pretty much what everybody's waiting on, is see what Iran does, because he does back these guys up, or they back these guys up. Um, yeah, have you seen the new submarines, Charles? These new submarines are about the same way too, um, and then the stuff that they could do. Now, the one I really like looking into a lot is the uh, camouflage, I guess, where it makes it look like we're invisible. And there's only very few videos on it, but we can actually be invisible right in front of. It's almost like the magicians that use it to where they can disappear in front of you, but they're right there. It's almost like they're using that technique, but it's a form of cloth, I believe. Um, so. Um, they're coming up with all kinds of new planes. Uh, I mean, think about it. The SR-71 was built in the early 50s, and it was Mach 3 plus. Now, the pilots had told me that they know it could go Mach 6. Um, and so I got to talk to one of the pilots when we were out at Beale Air Force Base, the home of this SR-71 and the U-2. So I got to see the U-2 up close in the SR-71. But for that plane back then being built and being one of the fastest um, that we had, and one of the best fighters we had in the 80s, 90s, I mean, think about what they have now that we don't know about. Um, Some people say, well, those UFOs. And I say, you know what? You just got to kind of wait, because what we're seeing could be the newest helicopter, or uh, it could be one of the newest fighter jets that we have put out. And of course, you, Area 51 is still one of the biggest bases that fly. Um, they do trial runs with aircraft. I think I told the story this last week, where they had a drone aircraft, and this was like a regular commercial aircraft that they were pretty proud of. And when they got it up, it went up, and it was doing really good. Well, then once it went up and then it leveled down, leveled out, it started dropping, and they had dummies on it, and it just went down and crashed. So, trial and error. But they said there was about 50, I think 50 is what it was, of generals and people from like Raytheon and Boeing, and quite a few other places were there looking at this. So I wouldn't look at the little those and the little nano bugs. I want one of them little flies that's can fly and take pictures and listen. They even got that nanotechnology. And we do that too. Anything I can dabble into, I sure grab up on it. So, um, anybody have any questions? Or, I know I was supposed to do corruption files tonight, but I really did feel this was very important to be able to let you guys know what's going on. Um, Not only that, but, I got to be on top of this. And I'm still keeping an eye on my phone. I tell you, I got to keep an eye on China, Israel, and, also Ukraine. Ukraine, um, boy, we have got um, not only the nuclear plant, but we are even, it could be in retaliation to the newest news that Ukraine has been caught putting missile launchers in residential areas, or firing into schools, hospitals, and residential areas. So, they're both going to point the fingers, but I think at the end, I think they're both going to be hit with war crimes. Russia's not very nice, and neither is Ukraine, but war isn't pretty. War's pretty tough. Um, and as far as I know, I'm keeping my ear out for what's going on in Taiwan. I'll be watching Israel, and I'll be watching Ukraine. Is this World War III? I believe that the world is angry. And not only that, but the people. I think the people around the country are very angry, and all over the globe, because we have politicians that can't get along. And we got politicians that want to flex their muscles and threaten and warn each other over, I think, something very petty. Um, it don't matter how many nuclears that we have. It's going to be one stupid fool, or one stupid leader of one country. I'm thinking it's going to be Kim Jong Un. He's just too reckless. That's going to say, you know what, I'm going to do this, and they're going to hit something. And I think that's going to be the start of it. Accidents. I've heard so many generals today say that um, if anything starts, it's going to be because of a rocket hit something, and it shouldn't have, and that's just going to start it. Look at all them those missiles going over Taiwan islands that are almost up out the building height. Now, I checked with my reporters over there today, and they said that it's like 60, 70, 80 planes that's been over. And it's almost to the point where Taiwan is almost waiting to get planes in the air to run them off. So Taiwan is defending itself. It is getting its uh, uh, air force in the sky. We also have the Ronald Reagan over there on its way. They said there's quite a few ships over there just already for one little mistake. So, um, yeah, that's true. Used to be, Charles, that the Republicans loved creating war so we would make money for the industrial, what's it called? Industrial war complex, I think. Tell me what it is, DB. I can never remember names of stuff like that. Uh, and they did it for a lot of money so they could make money. It's like this new grain deal, the bill that they're going to pass. If you look at it, all like the AOCs and everybody that put this together, they're all going to have nice new offices, them, their friends, and they're all going to make millions. Now, are they going to make millions because they know that the socialism and their Green Deal is going to fail? So they're going to make all that money off of all of us because their plan failed. And this is sad. And this is what I mean by very stupid people in political power. I mean, Putin makes dumb mistakes. Um, they said that he's got a clone today. That was something else I seen. They said he's got a lookalike or a clone, and that kind of like what Hillary does. Now I've looked at it, and no, I think you know what I think? I think Putin wears makeup. Y'all, I think Putin wears makeup. Well, you're very welcome, Charles. So if you guys are new, I do talk to my chat room. That's why I said come on in the chat room, make a comment, um, or ask a question. I interact with my chat rooms. And I've got them all so that if you're over even in Facebook and you make a comment, it pops up so I could see it. And those that are over here in YouTube land. Because basically I feel like I'm connected with YouTube, but boy, Facebook sure goes after me. I've got just as many bands on Facebook as I have on YouTube, and so if you guys lose me, I'm going to be one of three places, and that is Investigator News Network, Investigator News 2, or Facebook. Facebook, the only thing they do is they cut it to where half of my viewers can't see me. So you're just going to have to, if you don't see me, you're going to have to look on the page for me. So I thank everyone for watching tonight, and I hope I got enough info out to you and the understanding of what's going on around the globe. Please share and subscribe over in Facebook. It's follow and like, and you'll be able to keep an eye on me uh, with YouTube. Smash that bell. Um, and I love the support from all my viewers, and we're gaining them very quickly. Now that they're not banning me, and I guess I'm being good, it's because I don't want to. I can't talk about that other stuff that everybody else gets to talk about it, but me, because they'll take me out. So thank you very much for watching tonight, and share with family and friends. Tell your neighbors and tell everybody you can about our show. I try to be very honest and truthful, and if I'm wrong, I'll come right back and tell you I'm wrong. So, yeah, uh, push the that bell and hit that like button on all of where you're watching me from. And Rumble, I'm having problems downloading videos. So if you haven't seen them over there in Rumble, I've got issues. Or Rumble has issues. I don't know. It's taking 8 to 12 hours to get a video, and I can't put my computer through 8 to 12 hours when I do shows every day. So I'm sorry we didn't get to Corruption Files tonight. That will be back next week with Boys on the Track that we are doing about the Clintons. And this time it was supposed to be tonight. And I want to let you guys know there is stuff about the Don Henry family. It's something that came out with Linda Ives before she passed away. So that's what the show is going to be on. We're not done. The Clintons don't quit. So with that, you guys have a wonderful Friday. And of course, if you're new, come on back tomorrow night and we do news and trivia. Give you a chance to play a little bit of trivia. And, uh, I do different things all week long. Mondays is Legends of Myths and Monsters. I'm tossing up some ideas, but I'm looking into a lot. It's definitely about the monsters. So you guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow night for news and trivia. God bless. And, don't worry. Just keep the faith and know that we're all going to be okay. This was written, and we come out looking pretty good on the other side. So have a wonderful night, folks, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye-bye.